Today is part 2 of a special 10-part series we're doing here at Unstoppable called SaaS and Scotch. Normally, I bring you a video every Sunday where, based on my 15 years of experience in building SaaS companies and being an operator and a founder, I bring you principles from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business. In this special 10-part series, instead of me giving you the principles, I'm interviewing some of the best founders, SaaS founders that I know or have worked with or have been in my network or are friends of mine. And they are going to be giving you their principles on go-to-market and on growing SaaS companies. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Saurav Agrawal, CEO of SieraAI. He was CEO over the last couple of years that we've been working together, and he just transitioned to CTO. Some context on Saurav: he's got a PhD in robotics, and he started Siera to help forklifts avoid accidents. And so it's a very, very interesting episode here, and I loved working with him because he came from this engineering background, and inside of the go-to-market program that I run, he embraced go-to-market. He embraced this founder-led go-to-market stage. And through that time, they've raised an additional round and they've 5X'd their ARR. I thought it would be really great to bring Saurav on and have him give his 3 principles on how he embraced founder-led go-to-market and what that meant for him. And when you follow these principles, you too will be able to apply them, embrace founder-led go-to-market, and accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS business faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you are new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business. Additionally, we're running a special 10-part series where I drop an episode like this every Thursday where I interview another SaaS founder so they can give you their principles on how you grow your SaaS business faster. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, this fast-growing community of SaaS founders and SaaS leaders, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. So in this very special episode, I'm going to be interviewing Saurav Agrawal. Saurav and I have been working together for nearly 2 years now, maybe like a year and a half. And in the program, in the go-to-market program, we've been working together. He's part of my platinum program now. I invited him to talk because he's an engineer and he embraced go-to-market. And when he did that with his co-founder, they were able to 5X their ARR while being inside of the program. I thought it'd be really interesting because I meet so many founders who are stuck in the one more feature trap, who are hemming and hawing about go-to-market. So I thought it'd be great to bring Saurav on because he can speak to you about exactly what he learned when he really embraced go-to-market, what prompted him to do it, what problems he was having, and where he is now. In this episode, I structured it in a way where we just jump into our interview because it was really natural. We went back and forth. We've worked together for so long. It was hard to chop it up. And so what I'll do is I'll give you an overview of the 3 principles he covers, and then we'll cut into the interview and you can look through it. And we'll add some chapters here so that you can skip around to the specific parts that you're most interested in. But honestly, it was a great conversation. We went really in depth, and I think you'll enjoy the whole thing if you just let it ride. The 3 principles that Saurav is going to cover is, number 1, how he embraced his founder-led journey in terms of go-to-market. And one of the interesting things he shared was that founder-led and go-to-market work he found to be actually just as technical as working on AI or robots. Because when you think about the strategy around go-to-market and the messaging and the positioning, there's a lot of technical work. And he had to let go of his preconceived notions about how it's just salesy. And he realized, wow, this requires a lot of intellect to get go-to-market right. So I love that principle. Principle number 2 that he covers is GTM, doing the go-to-market work actually drove alignment across his teams. So whether it was sales or marketing or the technical side, because they did the go-to-market work and the manifesto work, it actually drove alignment. So he'll be diving into that. And the 3rd principle he talks about is how he's transitioning now from founder-led to true go-to-market leadership. One of the things I mentioned is he was CEO and now he transitioned to CTO. In that journey, now that he's done the founder-led and he's proven out the product market fit and he's driven growth, he now has the ability and the opportunity to move to a role he truly loves and build out the rest of his leadership team. And we'll be talking about that as well. I'm super pumped about this episode, and I'm just super pumped about this series. We're going to be playing around with how to bring it to you in the best way as I interview these amazing founders. So we'll be diving into Saurav and his 3 principles, and I'll be interviewing him. So I'll be guiding you through the whole process. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that. And let's jump right into it. Welcome to SaaS and Scotch. Saurav, this episode has been months in the making. I'm so excited to have you over here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me, TK.
Yeah. So let's take it from the top because everybody wants to know. Tell us about what does Siera do? I love your story. We've obviously been working together for a while inside of the Go-To-Market and now the Platinum program. So let's take it from the top on tell the audience exactly what you guys do at Siera.
At SieraAI, we help factories, warehouses, and other industrial operations make their heavy equipment like forklifts safer and smarter. Prevent accidents, get rid of paper, and go digital with their compliance paperwork. And in a nutshell, what we say is, we help our customers not to fork it up, right? Forklift, damage things, so don't fork it up. That's our tagline.
I love that thing. Yeah, I remember one of our first strategy calls we did, we were working on your manifesto. And I think one of the things we were talking about, do you know how many forklifts there are in the world? And it's just one of those things oh my God, you're right. There's just never thought about it that way. It's just such a massive problem.
It's a massive problem. Anything on your desk, from your iPhone to your Mac, everything is in a box on a forklift at some point or the other.
You have a particularly interesting story. Maybe you can tell the audience about you were CEO of the company, you brought it to this stage of growth, and now you're moving to the CTO role and bringing on a CEO. So we can talk about that too. But how do you wake up one day and say forklifts? That's the thing. What were you doing? What was your background, and how'd you get into building a SaaS company around what Siera does right now?
That's a great question, TK. So, originally, I'm an engineer by training, right? So I got my undergrad in aerospace engineering, but I got really interested in drones. And so I went and got a master's degree on, computer vision, drones, and, got really interested in, okay, how can not talking about killer robots here, but how can a drone fly itself? So eventually, somehow I landed up in the US at Texas A&M University to go get a PhD in robotics. And during that PhD program, again, worked a lot on self-driving vehicles, autonomous drones. But at the end of it, I had the opportunity to get a grant from the National Science Foundation to get nerds like me out of the lab into the real world and, go figure out the market. So they had us go through the Lean Startup program. It's called the NSF I-Core. I highly recommend, anybody in grad school who wants to go do a startup to go through that program. It really helped. And what it was a crash course in, developing an early go-to-market. So talk to literally 100 customers. And if you don't do it, you get kicked out of the program. So you have to talk to 20 customers every week. It's a 5-week program. And we talked to companies like DHL, Walmart, and everybody came up with the same problem. We have massive fleets of equipment. We're spending billions of dollars on the people to operate them, millions of dollars on buying and replacing equipment. And we have the same problems like labor shortage, accidents, injuries, too much, stuff happening online on paper, and nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So when we actually started not with what we do today. We actually started with the vision of, just automating the entire machine. So we developed a bolt-on kit, think of it like an AI kit that you would bolt onto the vehicle and make it go driverless.
Right.
That's how we started. But, as business teaches you and kicks you in the butt, you realize that, when you start realizing the real stuff in the sales cycle, oh my God, the sales cycle for that is too long. The development cost is too long. The go-to-market involves a really lengthy trial process. So we had a crazy idea. So me and my co-founder, we were visiting a customer, probably the world's top or second largest food manufacturer. And we told them it looks like your vehicles are really scratched and dented. Maybe we could develop a system for you that could prevent the vehicle from hitting things.
Yeah.
And the whole meeting came to a halt. And there was the senior VP there, and he said, I want this done, give them a project, literally. And that was a Hail Mary for us in that meeting, because that meeting was not going so well.
Okay.
So that kickstarted a major pivot. Then around, when the pandemic hit, we made a complete pivot and we moved into just, IoT sensors and, analytics and, very much a SaaS approach.
That's awesome.
And so you had the background of engineering, you had a PhD in robotics, and you went for the moonshot of let's just replace the drivers. To me personally, the idea that a bunch of forklifts is just driving around on their own, it sounds horrifying to me. But you were like, look, even the sales cycle on that, forget the technology, is way more difficult. And so let's actually go the intermediate step where we just stop the drivers from making mistakes. And then do you still think about, hey, how do we slowly replace the driver in the long run?
So that's always been the goal. And that is the goal. Like, what we did was we updated our company's vision, right? So we started with save people from dull, dirty, and dangerous work. But we kind of did an overhaul of our company vision. And by the way, I never really understood what a company vision is until we had to overhaul it and, actually make it work for a growing team. So our vision is to help industrial workers improve their productivity and safety hand in hand. You can improve productivity, but by hurting safety, right? You can make things go faster, but then things become dangerous. Or you can come to a standstill, everybody's safe and no work gets done. So how do you improve productivity and safety together? So that was a major change in our vision. And during this journey, what we've learned, doing the sales cycle and all that stuff is, at the end of the day, what matters is something that is achievable with the resources that you have. And you have to be realistic about that in order to get to where you want to be. That was the big learning.
So if we were to fast forward, so you figure out like, okay, the market wants this thing and we can sell it to them. I remember when we started working together in the go-to-market program, you were like at like 100K in bookings or something like that. Yeah. So tell us a little around, like, you're in a very unique position. A lot of people watching, I think, will be in this position where you're a founder, come from an engineering background, you're CEO, and you're like, okay, like go to market. Like we finally have the product market fit, we have the revenues, but now we got to like really sell this. So tell us about that journey around embracing go to market as a founder. What was that like? What prompted you to want to say, cool, let's really do this the right way? Walk us through that process.
So I'll do the before and after, like you always, do in your videos. So before we met TK, we were essentially in a rut, I'd say. We tried hiring junior salespeople, and they'd give us the runaround and nothing would get done, so we'd have to fire them. And we, my co-founder was doing the day-to-day sales and marketing activities, but we didn't really have a program. We didn't really have a true go-to-market program. For us, go-to-market was, okay, we have this product and we know that our target customer is manufacturing or warehousing. So let's just get a list of those customers and start calling them or emailing them and like doing outbound, without really developing a messaging strategy and the ICP refinement in that process. After coming into your program, that was like an eye-opener. It was things that we had read, but you really codified it into a framework that you can install and download in your brain, right? That's how you're talking about when we met for dinner last week, and then execute on it. So what happened then was we did a major overhaul of our website, of our sales decks. We created the manifesto and we iterated through it. So the first 3 months was like, a grind, because really there was no result to show for it, just a lot of work. But then after the first quarter, so we signed up with you beginning of Jan 2021. At the end of the first quarter, we started to see the results starting to trickle in, right? So sales deals were moving just a little better. Customers were nodding their head, saying yes in the meeting. Then, it was like a magical experience. By the end of the second quarter, we were seeing that it was taking off. So we had a very rapid growth, from that point onwards. And, we 5X'd ARR from then, and, growth has been amazing. Obviously, a lot of learnings along that. And, sometimes you get so busy doing it that you forget to do the weekly, monthly updates and tweaking and tuning. And then oh crap, I got to go back and fix it. Yeah. So it's been a very amazing learning journey.
That's amazing. I remember one of when we finally honed in on the messaging and the value prop, there's that thing of like, each forklift accident can cause up to $120,000 or something like that. And that was like, yeah. And it's like one of those like, oh, this is why it's like important and urgent versus just like randomly, like maybe you want to insure this type of thing. It's like those little things make a huge difference. For you as a founder, as an engineer, then embracing go-to-market, like what was that experience like? If you were to speak to baby Saurav, I was talking about baby TK, so baby Saurav, who's like more the engineer, the robotics engineer, and it's like, okay, I got to do this messaging thing, which seems very soft. Before and after, like, what would you say to the baby Saurav, or like even the founder that's a year behind you, when they're thinking about, they got a great technology, they have some revenues, but they're trying to figure out all these other pieces?
Actually, I think like if you think about go-to-market, the way it's codified in the Unstoppable system, I think it's perfect for engineers because it's so analytical. And I always tell people that, if I had a second career, if I was going back and I was not an engineer, I used to say that I would, I wanted to be a test pilot for the Navy, but
Yeah.
I'm rethinking it. I would like to be a marketer.
Yeah.
I just love the analytics. I just love the analytical approach involved in it. So it's been a lot of fun. What I'd say to any, technical founder is embrace it early. Don't say those things like, oh, sales is all dirty and, people have to be slick and, you have to like say weird things to people or, true go-to-market is actually very technical. You have to understand the customer. You have to carefully listen, understand the patterns and boil that down into a succinct message. And then,
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
It's so true. Like I'm an engineer by trade. I embrace go-to-market, and I have built a program in a very analytical way. It's like so that it's like, hey, do this. This is like all that matters. And so I've always looked at it as this is true for me. Also, I looked at it as like sales and marketing is like what you do when the product's not good enough. But in reality, it's like no. Sales and marketing is representing a really great product in the truest form. Like that's how I look. It's like what is the thing that's the essence of why your product is urgent and important to what your customer needs? And like it's like that's an art form. And like you learn to love it, even as an engineer. You're like, no, it's like almost. I think engineering is finding truth and reason and what's right. And I think in that way, it's the same lens. That's how I think about it too.
Absolutely. If we had not done it, we'd still be struggling. And I'm so glad we did it. But the takeaway has been that do it as early as you can, right? And do it often, early and often. That's the key with this kind of stuff.
Tell us about the often piece, because now like you did year one, now you're in year two, you did the go-to-market program. Now we're in platinum. We were getting dinner with your new CEO and in Dallas, because we're both in Texas. And like that iteration part, like tell us a little bit about what you've learned about that. Because you, I think, are one of the masters of like, bunch of stuff happens and you're like, cool, let's go back at it and like iterate and make it better so we can keep moving forward. So what have you learned from that? I think that'd be valuable for the audience also.
So, I'll break it down into three pieces. Like the first thing is once you absorb this framework and this methodology and this mindset of go-to-market, you gotta in certain way coach your team into absorbing it and following it as well, right? Because you may not be in every customer meeting as the number of customers grows. So they need to be listening for these things and coming back to you. Build that culture of get everybody aligned around the go-to-market from your sales, sales obviously, marketing obviously, but the customer success team, very important part of go-to-market. Engineering, very important part of go-to-market. I love the core product loop concept that you shared in your training.
Yeah.
The second thing is, so now you've done the coaching of your team and you've aligned. And the second thing is not to forget that you do it often. So initially we were doing it like, because we had to start from scratch almost. So we were doing it like weekly, monthly basis. But now we realize that, we are in a rhythm with our customers. We can't just switch things up, on a weekly, monthly basis. So it's more of a quarterly thing. Yeah. And because we are moving up market, so initially we started very enterprise, realized things were not working. So we went mid-market. Mid-market is working great, but we're now going back to up market.
ICP work at its classic.
ICP work, right? And with the product evolving and becoming more, enterprise, now it's starting to click in like how the messaging, will evolve. And that data from a quarter, for example, you got to build in cybersecurity messaging into your sales pitch somehow when you're going into the enterprise customer, right? You got to think about the platform approach versus the product approach. So those are the questions that are coming up now. How do we change our messaging to go more enterprise?
You've gone through this incredible transition of like your founder-led sales and marketing. Now, you're in this like stage where you're building out the leadership. You've been very conscious about, okay, I'm like, you were the founder and the CEO. Now you're like, I'm founder and CTO. He's the CEO. He's the CRO. Like, here's our team. This is why we created Platinum. It's like, okay, founders are switching to being leaders and like, what's the transition and how do we think about it? Tell us about that. Because this is like, on one hand, dream come true for a lot of founders that are starting out. On the other hand, there are challenges associated with that kind of transition. Like the new higher class problems you get out of the success you got from like it's like, thank you, success. Now I have these bigger challenges to deal with. So like, tell us a little bit around what you learned from that.
So it's definitely, a lot of painful growth, right? First, you have to, have a lot of self-realization around what am I good at? What do I need to, work on, in developing a system of self-improvement. Biggest thing is understanding the gaps in your capabilities and your, co-founder and your team's capabilities and adding the right people in the right places. And first of all, you have to identify the right person. You make one bad VP or senior hire and you're screwed. They can screw the entire company over, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to make the right hire. By the way, to anybody listening, I would recommend reading the Who Method, the book on hiring. It's great. The second thing is, how do you get them aligned on the vision as you build the leadership team before you bring them in? And how do you, as the founder who's transitioning out of the CEO role, not interfere with the new CEO, but at the same time, still gently nudge them along that vision, because they're also looking to you for guidance and assistance, at least in the early days.
Yeah.
That's been a learning, but overall a very fun experience.
So for you, how has your day-to-day changed from, so let's say year one, where it's like, let's figure out go-to-market, let's scale the revenues. You guys 5X'd it, you reached new highs. And so this year, is your day-to-day different? Is it very similar? Like, do you think differently about the business or even go-to-market? What's different now?
I think what's different is that we have an operating system, right? We do the OKRs, the highlights, the lowlights, the shout outs. Yeah. And, just having that operating system, the weekly all hands, and, making those all hands more beneficial to the team, not a monologue but, actually having like different OKRs from different teams and shout outs. The key difference I feel is that we actually know how to go about doing things. We may not be perfect at it. We may not always follow discipline. We may get distracted, but we know what the truth is, what the philosophy is, and how to get back to it. That's been the difference.
You started off thinking about how do we just replace the driver, have the forklifts do the thing. Then you pivoted and got success and have success. And how do we just stop the accidents with the drivers? Mm-hmm. Now that you're thinking about scale, is there a reinvigorated vision about replacing the drivers now? Or do you feel like, we still have another 5 years of just safety and then we get into autonomous? Like, how do you feel about that now as you start to continue to scale?
The first thing we feel is that we feel glad that we made the pivot, right? Always listen to the customer, listen to the market. The
market does too.
The technical founders tend to get so sold on their own vision, and their own product that you might, be a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm glad we didn't do that. We are still working towards that, but with a different long-term view. What we believe is that, and which is what most investors and the market also believes, that the transition to autonomy or driverless is going to be gentle, and it's going to start with a few big enterprises or a few specific business units, transitioning to autonomy, and even that would be hybrid. What I mean by hybrid is fleets would be manual plus autonomous, and even the autonomous would have some form of teleoperation, right? Remote control. So what we need to do now is make the human smarter and safer, and by making the human smarter and safer, using inference models, capturing data, making our models better, so that when we go out to the world with a self-driving solution, just like Tesla is doing, we actually have the best solution because we've learned from millions of hours of driving, versus just trying to build it by sending 5,000 drivers out into different warehouses and collecting test data. Real world data comes from real customers.
I've seen this pattern often in SaaS across a lot of clients we've worked with, and in my own journey. Like, one of my favorite movies is Iron Man, like Iron Man 1, even 2 and 3 are good too, but Iron Man's one of my favorite movies. In SaaS, it's very tempting to try to build something that replaces the human, but it's actually more lucrative at the stage we're in to build the Iron Man suit. And so in a way, you're building the Iron Man suit for the forklift driver and even the forklift itself versus trying to make the autonomous forklift. But the data you collect and the insights you get out of the Iron Man suit can actually get you closer to the fully autonomous one, where it's an Iron Man drone and there's no man inside.
Yes. Yeah. Just want to make sure it's not Ultron, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you've had the success, you've gone through all these stages, you're making huge changes. It seems like you're more excited than ever and you feel at peace in this new role and you're continuing to scale. Like, what's next for Siera? Like, what do you got? What's top of mind for you to bring this company to the next level?
So our focus right now is to, grow the leadership team a bit. Yeah. And make a few key hires and really, hone down the go-to-market machine and just start printing money for starters, and reinvest that back into, more product development and enhancing, one thing I feel that we're doing great is that in our industry, in the industrial sector, the quality of the user experience you get in solutions is from, Windows 1995 era. We're changing that. We're bringing like a modern SaaS user experience, an iPhone user experience to a Motorola handheld market, and we want to continue doing that. So it's not just about building the sexiest AI, but it's about delivering a beautiful user experience, like what we call the magical user experience. And we want to focus on that first.
That's awesome. I always like to close out on this question. You joined the Go-To-Market program for Go-To-Market, and you've been able to scale the company, ICP, Manifesto, Metrics, Broadway Show. You're now in Platinum. One thing I like to always ask, especially because we've been through battle together through multiple things, like what's the one thing that you got out of the program that was unexpected or you didn't expect to get, but you got and actually helped you along the way?
I think it's what I thought I would just get would be a way to do sales and marketing. But what I got out of the program is actually a framework on how to run the business. And I think that's been fantastic. That was an unintended outcome, and working with you one-on-one really helps in that. So I'd say that has been my biggest unintended win out of the program.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is kind of funny, right? Because, you've been around long enough. You've seen the other founders also. We get these questions that now start to span outside of go-to-market, like all hands. How do you run an all hands? I'm like, oh, that's a good question. Here's what we would do. We should bake that into the training. Turns out there's all these other things that you have to do to run a business beyond sales and marketing, but no one teaches you. You guys are past venture fund, you guys are venture funded, but you still don't get an instruction manual for those kind of things.
Absolutely not. And that's one of my personal pet projects is, I write my own blog and I keep writing these things articles on how to really do hiring and things like that. I feel like literally there are lots of articles, blogs, etc., but there's no actual framework which just tells you unlocks the process for you.
Yeah. What's the address of your blog so people can read the articles that you're writing?
So it's SauravAG.com. So www.sauravag.com. And I think I told you about this, but I'm looking to start up something like SaaSter for hardware and deep tech founders, but I think we just get shit on by investors and the market in general. So I'm starting Haster.com. So watch out for it soon. We're going to have some good people talking on it as well as some good articles.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. I remember when you were fundraising, it was how do we represent the hardware revenue versus the software revenue, the recurring revenue versus the hardware we sell them and the margins. And there's not an obvious answer, but there are definitely wrong answers for it. So
there's only wrong answers out there and nobody gives you the right answer. And every investor asks for the different thing. So
yeah, exactly. I love that. So where can people find you? I think we'll link to Haster, we'll link to your blog, we'll link to the Siera.ai website, but if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best channel and way to get in touch? You already have your phone number in the background, so you might be getting texts. I don't know. It's awesome.
I don't know. LinkedIn is the best.
Okay, cool. Go on LinkedIn. We'll link to your LinkedIn profile also. Anything else? So the people that listen to this are people considering joining the Go-To-Market program. This will go on our main YouTube channel. So we'll talk about building a hardware company. We'll find the right title for it. We'll talk about PhD to CEO to CTO and embracing go-to-market. For that type of founder listening, even the hardware founder, hardware SaaS, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them as they are navigating their path, the Shawshank crawl to the next stage of growth?
So I'd say that, every business is a software business, even if you require hardware to unlock value. The biggest learning for us has been you don't always need to build the hardware. Go figure out if you can take a software first approach where you can build on top of existing hardware or use an ecosystem of outside hardware. That's a key learning. And if you absolutely have to do something yourself, like Apple, says if you want to do software, right, you got to do the hardware. Sometimes you just have to do it yourself. Make sure you hire engineers who've built that thing before.
Right.
It'll save you a lot of time and money.
I don't know. That sounds like a great beginning framework for Haster. I'm excited for Siera and everything else that you're doing, Saurav. And I also have to say, I have thoroughly enjoyed just being a small part of your journey, because I think the resilience you have and the discipline you bring to everything that you do is just freaking awesome. So it's been truly a privilege and an honor to see you in your journey. I'm so excited for everything that's coming next.
It goes the same way, TK. It's been an honor and a privilege working with you. And, we're in the Platinum program. So I look forward to, continuing this relationship.
Yeah, you're stuck with me for years now. So.
You're stuck with me.
That's right.
All right, so that was the interview. I hope you got value from it. To recap, here are the 3 principles that Saurav really covered that I just love. Number 1, embrace founder-led, because true go-to-market work is very technical. Number 2, go-to-market actually drives alignment across your teams. And number 3, when you do founder-led go-to-market, you're able to get growth, and then you earn the right to build out your full leadership team and really bring on other people and move to the part of the company that you really love. And those were his 3 principles. Also, if you're at that stage where you are figuring out founder-led journey and you want to actually accelerate the growth of your SaaS business, you want to embrace founder-led go-to-market, then I encourage you to check out my SaaS go-to-market coaching program, which Saurav was part of. Inside of this program, we help you go from a relatively undefined go-to-market strategy to a well-defined one that you can execute on. The way I do this, you work directly with me, is we focus on 3 things. Firstly, we focus on your ideal customer profile. Then we build out your manifesto. With those 2, you have your core go-to-market strategy and you're able to execute on it through what we call a Broadway show. To learn more about the program, just go to tkkader.com/GTM. tkkader.com/GTM. All the details are in there. And all you have to do is fill out a little form and you'll get on a call with us. We'll review where you are. If it sounds like we can help you with your founder-led go-to-market journey, we're off to the races. We'll start working together. And again, this program is unique and one of a kind because I come from the trenches on actually having started, built, and scaled and exited companies, and you work directly with me. I'm the coach, I'm the person you and I work together to make sure you're set up for success. So just go to tkkader.com/GTM for details on the program. If you got value from this video, please hit that like button. YouTube algorithm loves it. If you have a fellow founder, a team member that will get value from this video, please share it with them. If you haven't subscribed yet, I drop an episode every single Sunday and Thursdays on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. You'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode.